Good Thursday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversation Daily News. Glad you all could be with us. Well, we made it over the hump, and we're in the home stretch toward the weekend. We, of course, you have your news headlines coming up on this Thursday. Have a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. And in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you're part of my conversation with author LaTasha Eleby. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with their Thursday headlines. In national news, voter data expert hired by Trump campaign says 2020 election was not stolen, says The Hill. Ken Block, whom the Trump campaign hired in 2020 to find voter fraud in the election, penned an op-ed on Tuesday stating unequivocally that the 2020 presidential election was not stolen and that there was no evidence of voter fraud significant to change the outcome of the election. Can a steady diet of lies and innuendo overcome the truth? The USA Today op-ed began. In November 2020, former President Donald Trump asserted that voter fraud had altered the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. The day after the election, his campaign hired an expert in voter data to attempt to prove Trump's allegations and put him back in the White House. I am the expert who was hired by the Trump campaign, Block wrote. Block, who owns Simpatico Software Systems, said his company's findings were communicated directly to then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and transcripts of depositions taken by the January 6th Select Committee investigating the attack on the Capitol showed that the campaign found no evidence of voter fraud significant to change the outcome of any election. Block's op-ed comes as Trump continues to claim the 2020 presidential election was illegitimate while he mounts a comeback bid for the White House in 2024. Trump's popularity has grown in recent months, as has the share of U.S. adults who say President Biden was not legitimately elected. As of January 2nd of this year, 63% of GOP primary voters favored Trump among all the GOP primary candidates for president in 2024. In second place, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley has 11% support, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has 10% support, according to Decision Desk Headquarters' national polling average. In a Washington Post University of Maryland poll released this week, 62% of U.S. adults say Biden was legitimately elected, down from 69% when an equivalent poll was conducted 2 years ago. Among Republicans, 31% say Biden was legitimately elected, down from 39% 2 years prior. In more national news, U.S. again renews protection for former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and top aide over Iran threats. The Biden administration has once again renewed taxpayer-funded protection for former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and one of his top aides who have been the target of persistent threats from Iran. The State Department notified Congress late last month that the threats against Pompeo and Trump administration Iran envoy Brian Hook remain serious and credible and continue to warrant government-funded security details. The notifications are dated December 19th, but were not transmitted to Congress until December 22nd. They were obtained by the Associated Press this week. Tensions in the Middle East have soared since the outbreak of Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza and escalated further Wednesday after dozens of people were killed in blasts in Iran at a memorial service for an Iran Revolutionary Guard commander. In more national news, trial postponed for man charged with 2022 stabbing of author Salman Rushdie. The New Jersey man charged with stabbing author Salman Rushdie is allowed to seek maternal material to Rushdie's upcoming book about the attack before standing trial, a judge ruled on Wednesday. Jury selection in the attempted murder and assault trial was originally scheduled to start January the 8th. Instead, the trial is on hold since the individual's lawyer argued Tuesday that the defendant is entitled by law to sing a manuscript due out in April of this year. Rushdie, 75, was blinded in his right eye and his left hand was damaged in the attack. The author announced in October 2023 that he had written about the attack in a forthcoming memoir, Knife, Meditations After an Attempted Murder. In more national news, nor'easter could blast east with first significant snow in 2 years from New York to Washington. Meteorologists are tracking what's expected to become the first nor'easter of 2022, which could bring the first significant snow in 2 years for several cities along the East Coast and flooding rain for the South, all translating to messy weekend travel across the eastern U.S. The storm is forecast to develop Friday along the Gulf Coast, while computer forecast models still widely vary on snow or rain amounts and the actual track and strength of the storm. The Fox Forecast Center is keeping an eye on key takeaways that will spell out dangerous and slow travel conditions. And finally, in entertainment news, Godzilla Minus One tops $80 million to set new box office record. With $42 million domestic and $35 million international heading into New Year's Eve weekend, Godzilla Minus One stumped its way past $80 million worldwide and set a new record as the all-time highest-grossing Godzilla movie from Japan. Already a massive hit off its $15 million or so budget, Godzilla Minus One has earned rave reviews and is a top Oscar contender for visual effects. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Word That Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Thursday, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Words That Choose to Live By from my book, Words That Choose to Live By, page 2. Your imperfections are only a daily reminder that you still have work to do. Continue to strive and thrive, making what seems impossible a possibility. Have an amazing Thursday. We are part of my conversation coming up with author and motivational speaker LaTasha Eleby in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us, you're listening to Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with Entertainment Spotlight. Author and motivational speaker LaTasha Eleby joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about her extraordinary gifts and what she's been able to do to help young people. Here's a bit of our conversation.
LaTasha, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate you stopping by today.
Thank you for having me, Cyrus.
Yeah, the pleasure's definitely all mine, LaTasha. So, LaTasha, this is exciting to be able to speak with you, to introduce this to our radio audience, as well as, of course, those joining us online around the world. I want to talk about the power of words, because that's kind of what is the building blocks for you and the work that you do. When did you realize the power of words in your own life, LaTasha?
Well, being a woman of faith, coming up in church and my grandparents raising me with a faith background, you realize it when you get older that the reality that you're living are the very words that you've been speaking over yourself. And, I will always take everything back to the Bible. But, even God says that we have the power of life and death in our tongue, and we are to speak those things that are not as though that they were. And so in understanding that, when we are able to equip people with the power of words and just understanding the very power of the very things that's coming out of their mouths, how that can just shape their lives, it just creates a different dynamic in anybody that experiences it.
And in particular, it's affirmations that have really done it for you. And you mentioned, of course, being a person of faith. LaTasha, what has it been like for you to kind of look at this brand that you're building for yourself around the power of words?
It has been totally amazing because I did not always, of course, when life begins to come at you, you begin to battle, with things, with reality versus what we call faith. And so being able to just get what God had been giving me so long ago, but, I kind of strayed away a little bit and started to look more at reality, and to now finally see it just really, coming to fruition and being in print, and being able to actually teach these kids and put something tangible in their hands.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News, but on tomorrow to wrap up this week. Until then, I'm your host Cyrus Webb saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. So let's go make today amazing. Take care.